My point is this is the fiber that holds our group together. The premise is sobriety and accountability to each other. In my opinion.
No. Johnny, we belong to me, the most important and elite boys club in the world. Like, money ain't getting you through, buds.
Money ain't getting money.
You know,
money
fame ain't getting you.
money will provide. Money will stave off your bottom, because you could hire lawyers and go to a rehab. You could hide it. You can buy shit. You can still pay your bills. Somebody with no money hits the bottom pretty quick because everything's gone. But everybody gets there if they're predestined. So. All right. Good morning. As you know, I'm John from SEALs in Recovery. I'm with my good friend John Richter, who is the next victim on SEALs in Recovery podcast. And if you haven't subscribed to SEALs in Recovery on YouTube, mash the button, give us a good rating, and maybe our algorithms then will improve. But
They're going to go down now.
It's possibly it will go down with you, John. That being said, I've known John since 1992. Probably saw him in a compound before that. And I've known John a long time. We were swim buddies for the combat swimmer instructor course. And I did some things along the way and always kind of stayed in touch. And John came into SEALs in Recovery. How long ago was it, John? You got over a year. What was your sobriety date?
Well, I have 686 days today. So,
and your sobriety date started when you were at Farley, correct?
June 3rd. No, a week before.
Okay.
I did the home.
The white knuckling?
Yeah.
All right.
Gatorade.
So John graduated from his program, came to SEAL Team 2, and it was an instant connection because he's been around a long time. A lot of guys in SEALs in Recovery have been around a long time. What was your class number, John? 32?
2001. No, 125.
125. Who was 31 and 32 in our group? Somebody. Was it Al? I don't know.
No, Al was with me.
I don't know who was it. But anyways, John's been around a long time, knows everybody in the group, and we'll just shotgun some questions, and then we will get into your military career, ups, downs, when alcohol became a problem, what you did about it, who helped, what's working for you now, what's your relationship with your higher power, or as you understand him, how's things going with your family, all of those things, what you did with Check 6 prior to after the military, and we could talk about all of that. But first and foremost, I know this already, but where were you born and where did you grow up?
John Boy Richter, recovering alcoholic. I grew up in central South Florida, West Coast. One of 5 boys. My mother, very Catholic. We second generation Floridian. My dad grew up on a farm raising celery up in Sanford, Florida, and his father was had issues with alcohol. So he was 12 years old when Pearl Harbor was bombed, and his brother and sister, older brother and sister, were already one was in the Army Air Corps, the other was an Army nurse. Anyway, so he ended up taking over the farm. He drank, but not much, very sober. Anyway, so he had a lot on his shoulders at the age of 12 years old. He was born in 1929. And so he had probably the biggest influence on me growing up. He fought in the war. Well, he ran the farm, went to the seminary because he thought he was going to be a priest. He didn't. Anyway, Korea came around. He went and fought in Korea. Then he met my mom.
Where did your mom and your dad meet?
At a church choir, Catholic church down in Sanford, Florida, where Dad was from. But he was home visiting. That's where he was born and raised. He was with his parents. And somebody said, "Hey, you guys should meet." And they met, and that was history.
Right. Where are you in the pecking order with your?
So
with your
I'm one of 5 boys.
Right.
And Dad was a veterinarian,
Yep.
a large and small animal veterinarian, and So me and my 5 brothers were all veterinary assistants. And I was right in the middle. So I had, 2 older and 2 younger. My 2 older brothers were all within a year of each other. So we're pretty close in age, and we're still
Catholic
very
twins.
close. Yeah. Triplets, Irish triplets.
Yeah, Irish, yeah.
Yeah. And then my younger brother, Paul, who passed away about 8 years ago now from cancer. And then my youngest brother, Joe. But anyway, I wanted to be a veterinarian like my dad. The guys I really looked up to were the cowboys that helped him wrangle stuff, and he could do it, but he was the neck up help, and I was the neck down help. Sorry. So I finished, I had college classes in high school heading towards that, and then, took all the prerequisite stuff in junior college, but general chemistry with quantitative analysis stuck it in me. And so about that time I met Ryan McCumbee, who was down at, it was in Tampa, Sox out. I don't know
whatever it was then.
Yeah. At McDill at a soccer game. And I was with a bunch of dudes that I worked with. I was in college, and I worked at a farm with them. Anyway, we ended up telling me about the SEAL team, and I'm like, holy crap.
What was it like? What was your school experience growing up? What did you do?
Oh,
did you
we
just
went
work
to
on a farm. Did you play sports? Did you still get involved with community service? You had other options. Obviously, you were going to go be a vet potentially, and then you went in the military. But what was your what was it like growing up in Florida?
Okay,
was it a big, small town? Were the farms big? Were they small?
Yes.
Trying to get a picture of what
it's
what it was
Palmetto,
like.
Florida, which
Right.
is a really old town. It's in Manatee County.
Yeah, I know exactly where it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And my dad, when he was doing his residency in Opelika, which is right across from Port Canaveral, he asked a salesman, was like, hey, if you were starting to practice, where would you go? And he said, Palmetto, Florida. So that's, Dad bought an old vet's practice there, and he did really well.
Yeah.
But it was large animal, small animal. He worked his ass off. We all did too. 8 years of Catholic school. Then the Catholic high school was like half an hour drive away.
Did you embrace Catholicism, or did you just went?
Oh no, absolutely.
Because I'm Catholic as well, and I went to all, went through. I didn't go to Catholic school, but I did all up in the confirmation. I did it, but I didn't embrace it. I know enough about it to be dangerous. I know more about religion now from my occupation with Islam and Judaism, and of course my own faith. But it's interesting to look back, and I didn't embrace it. I just did it. I believe in it. I believe that Jesus has risen, but I never really embraced it. I just did it to get that check mark. So that's why I was asking, did you actually embrace the whole thing?
Yes, sort of. When I think second grade, the priest came in, and he had a cool trick of handing out the report cards and stuff. And he said, hey, kids, if you say the act of contrition, and mean it.
If you see me looking down on my phone right now, I'm trying to verify. So
I'm hip.
It's interesting, as we go on in this podcast, we're dealing with a guy that's in the hospital right now that needs to go to rehab, another SEAL. So we're kind of juggling balls right here, which is a good thing. I mean, it's quote unquote a God shot. We're doing this podcast about recovery, and we're dealing with a guy that's actually in the hospital trying to get to a so what I'm trying to do now is to
what's his name again? Sorry, we can't.
Yeah,
we can't talk.
What we're trying to do now is verify that he's a SEAL and get his class number, because we got a lot of false flags of people calling saying they're SEALs or spouses, and we verify it, and we have to
class
say
number classified.
Your guy or son might not be a SEAL. So all as I'm doing right now is going to verify this guy through our super secret string on Signal that has verification capabilities.
I know that guy.
Yeah. All right. You ready?
I forget where I was at.
We were did you embrace Catholicism? I just went to get the confirmation and be able to receive communion.
So absolutely. And
I'm asking this, John, because how did it play into
Oh
your
no,
spirituality. What we'll
I'm
talk
gonna
about.
get to that.
Yeah, when
I
you
bet.
actually got sober. That's
You
good. That
bet.
connectivity. That's why I'm kind of digging down a little bit on it.
Yeah, absolutely. The firewall,
Yeah.
which was alcohol. Yeah. So oh, where was that?
We were talking about, did you embrace Catholicism?
So
And then
yeah.
we talked about,
I
you met McCumbee and stuff like that.
so I when the priest first, second grade, whatever, he was like, hey, you can say this prayer, the act of contrition, which
Yeah.
and you're not if you if you die blowing up a school bus, you're not going to go to hell. Like you could say that prayer and mean it, and it's cheap insurance. I was like, heck yeah, man. So I memorized that one, and then there was another one that asked the Holy Spirit for grace and wisdom, and just the pause of taking that and saying that prayer. I think I've told it to you before, but I've
Right.
said it before every test, before every jump, before every dive. And well, most of me is still here.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, what it does is it puts my mind at ease, like, hey, bring it. My big brother, he's right there.
Yeah. There's another person in the room.
But alcohol was absolutely a firewall between an actual relationship between the good Lord and me. When when I quit drinking, it was like before, when I was in my cups, so to speak, I was the E4 in my dress uniform, standing outside the skipper's office, trembling, waiting. What's it gonna be? What I'm gonna get hammered for? Oh God, waiting for, and that was God. Now that I can actually, I can talk straight to him. As a Catholic, we pray through. We ask for intercession through Mary. We don't pray to Mary. Anyway, that's what I was used to. Hey, don't go straight to the straight to the boss. You go, and I still do in a way, but I never really talk straight to him. Now, without the alcohol, it's more like I don't know if you remember Captain Boink, Lou Boink.
Yeah.
He was just an awesome guy, and you know, you screwed up, you get called to the skipper's office, and you go in there, and his feet are up on a desk, and he throws you a can of Copenhagen and says, "Hey, John Boy, tell me what happened." I'm like, okay. So now I feel like I can, it's my relationship has changed.
So you go to college, the math,
Sorry.
everything was too much. You met McCumbee, and then you said, I want to go be a SEAL.
Yeah. Well, I had also gone to St. John Vianney, it's a seminary down in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I went there several times thinking that I might be a priest if I can't be a veterinarian. I thought priesthood would be kind of cool. Then I realized about the girl thing, and I'm like, yeah, no, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met Ryan, joined the Navy. Well, the only reason I joined the Navy was to be a team guy and or try to be a SEAL. But there was no backup. I didn't want to, be a machinist or a engine guy or whatever for the Navy. I'd go back and find something to do. But yeah. So went to A school out in San Diego.
What, MM?
MR,
Machine
repairman.
yeah.
I chose that rate because I do like making stuff, and that's milling machines, metal lathes, all that kind of stuff. And I figured if I did not make it through training, which wasn't an option, but if I didn't, I'd have something to fall back on. there's an old man where we grew up. He was a client of my dad's, World War I vet, who had a machine shop, and he had helped my dad, or he built my dad a really cool trailer for hauling wood. My dad's real passion was woodworking, and made some incredible stuff. But we would haul this trailer full of wood back and forth from West Virginia to Florida, because we vacation up there every summer. But this old man, Charlie Coon, he'd never touched a drop of alcohol or tobacco, but he was a World War I vet. He had a badass machine shop you could do anything with. And I thought, yeah, well, if I don't make this team guy thing, I wouldn't mind having a cool machine shop, which I have today. But made it through school. Jim half-ass McCarthy gave me my screening test, and he's an old Vietnam vet, and I think a RPG blew half his butt cheek off in Vietnam. And he treated me like he wasn't an asshole at all. If he saw me in the chow hall, he'd come over and he looked into it, and he said, "Hey man, you need to finish first in your class in A school.
I know. So you can get orders to where
so you can go to shore duty."
Dude, I have the same story. Listen to this shit.
Yeah, no, it's
so nobody tells you, and now by the time I got there, it was like dive fair, and there was all there was all this shit that they had contracts to go. And no, I was trying to be a diver, and I wanted to go to be a diver first. And I've told this on my other podcast. I'll tell it again. So I go to the recruiter. I want to be a diver, right? Like, well, you know, do it in boot camp. You get to boot camp, do it in your A school, right? Finally, I get to OSA school. I'm like, I'm talking. I was a good baseball player, so I was naturally a good softball player. So the instructors wanted young guys to play on their softball team to win the base tournament. So I started hanging out with the instructors
at A school.
Yeah, the OSA school. Softball used to be a huge thing on the bases. Smokers, flag football. Remember how competitive it was? They used to make the young guys play.
Oh, smokers.
Yeah.
Those guys that screwed up at jump school at team two, and they had to go.
Oh, my God. They were I think the Navy has changed so much. They were the really good times.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's still some good times, to be politically correct. But I told this guy, his name was Jamie. I said, look, I don't want to be an OS. I'm doing great in the class. He goes, look, you want to go to dive school, finish first in your class, pick your orders, pick a 1-year billet, and 6 months in, you could screen. So I picked Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. I finished second in my class. The first guy was TAD for ship. He had to go back to the ship, so I got first pick. I go to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, 6 months in. There was no dive locker. EOD had to screen me. I go do all my shit, my paperwork straight. Like, you do not want to be a diver. They wear Dunga jams. They go on the junk boats. Remember the junk boats at Little Creek? These shitty ass recovery. They weren't even.
I went to second class school after I was in the teams.
Yeah, that's what it was.
The preserver, the recovery,
the nice hoist. The hoist were the nice ones. Their recovery they were horrible. Yeah, the second class dive school was right across from SEAL Team 2.
That's where I went.
That's amazing.
Lino Mattioni.
Yeah. So they're like, you don't want to be a diver. You go on these junk boats, and that's what they're called. And you still got to wear Dunga jams, dungarees. So I'm like, oh, what is EOD? Oh, you blow some stuff up, this and that. And I'm like, oh, this sounds great. So I screened for EOD, and I got picked up in there. They had a thing called 5331 program for E4 and below, where you went
fourth man diver, third man.
It was it was fourth man diver, but it was more because you went to like half of EOD school. And then you would come back and finish up.
You knew what to stay the hell away from.
You got to do everything but render safe stuff. They let me cap in. I did so much demo in Rota, Spain, because it was a command that had enormous ammo lockers. So there was always retrograde ammunition from like World War II, Vietnam. So I got to unpackage everything. Yeah. I got to unpackage everything and blow it up, from CADs on airplanes to
I've been in the bunkers there.
Yeah.
We deployed to Rhodes when I was SCV team.
Yeah, so I got to see and unpackage everything. All the Ulstit that's oozing nitroglycerin through that wax paper.
Don't. You're gonna get the worst headache.
I mean, but I got to learn a lot. And then I've told this, and then doing great in EOD, planning on going better. They used to have like a supplement for dive school. You go through whatever gear EOD was using, could get qualled on it and finish up the EOD school, and back then go to Huntsville, Alabama for chemical new.
Jack Brown.
Yeah.
Did you dive the Jack Brown?
No, but I remember them. So, and you remember this probably. So I'm over in Rhoda in 80, 85 to 88, and some SEAL Team 4 guys got in trouble. Rich Dobrich and Rizzo. They got on legal hold, and you could take their names out. But they got a legal hold at the detachment, so they can keep their jump pay and dive pay, and they were great. Started hanging around like you don't want to go back to EOD school and finish up. You want to go be a SEAL. So like these guys are super cool. They're in great shape. It was back when the Trident was gold on your camis.
Yeah.
And they got these cool jungle camis on, and they're having a great time PTing. So I did. You know what I knew about buds? I looked the back of Link magazine. Remember the Link magazine that we used to get?
It was a quarter of a page.
Exactly. Yeah. And I remember the guy, the recruit, the detail was Master Chief Philpott. And this is a very interesting story. So SEALs and EOD were critical ratings. They didn't want to let anybody get out of them. So I'm like, I had a great Master Chief, Mike Vach. I don't know if he's still alive. If you are out there, Mike, God bless you for helping me. They were going to make me drop my EOD NEC to go to Buds. So
you
Mike
already earned that.
Yeah, but the only way I can go to Buds was to drop my EOD NEC because they needed people in EOD.
Is it on your DD 214?
Mike Vach totally took care of. He goes, put in the 1306/7, a fake one that you're going to drop your NEC. Huh. We're not going to fucking drop it. And if you fail out of Buds, we're going to send you. He knew everybody was a Vietnam vet. He knew he was a Master Chief. Been around.
Yeah, we'll send you back to your command with egg on your face.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
you suck it up and
he goes, I'll fix this. He goes, look, I want you to stay in the Navy. You're a good sailor. I want you to be happy and do, what you want to do. And he worked with a shit ton of SEALs in Vietnam. But he goes, we're going to fill out a 1306/7. I'm going to hold it. We're going to get you. I know Philpott. We're going to get your orders. And if something happens, we'll get you, back through your transition and whatever was in dive school and EOD school and just come back to the command. And that's,
what really makes me laugh when somebody, I've only met like one guy, John Dulovich, good friend. He won't mind if I mention his name, who said, yeah, I quit Buds. It wasn't for me. I could not see myself doing this, as a job. Anyway, great guy. But
this is an interesting segue, and we'll get back to some recovery stuff. But this is very interesting. People always ask me, was SEAL training hard? I said it was hard, but I never wanted to quit. And the people I was around with that I chose to be with never wanted to quit.
So and that's who you wanted. Who do you want to die around?
Right. So who do you?
A fucking
it's very
quitter
interesting because I know for you and everybody that I'm tight with, I've never heard even they say, I want to quit. It entered my mind. And I tell people this, I say, and I don't know how it is now. I know the training's a lot better. I know the physical fitness guys aren't coming to the teams broken with, hip problems, stress fractures, and everything else.
Yeah.
But I know if you had a doubt being there in SEAL training, the instructors would exploit it and you would quit. That was my perception of what was. I don't know anybody, that absolutely, there might have been, I just didn't see it, that just flew through. Everybody had some form of problems with the leadership, physical, failing evolutions, getting hurt, getting rolled back. So it's very interesting. That thing was it hard? And one thing that a guy in our SEALs and Recovery group said, and you were at the meeting, he'd been to rehab 7 times. And, I'm going to have him when he's ready to come on. And he was getting really granular. And as Doug say, is just ripped his belly open and let his guts out on the table. And he goes, he's like, stopping drinking was harder than Buds. And that really hit a nerve with me. Because that's how hard it was for him. Because Buds is an ass kicker, and there's no doubt about it. Still, amongst the hardest training in the world. The attritions is still the same. The people graduating is still about the same. The guys are healthy to come to the teams, but it was very interesting. Very interesting. And this is what I help mentor some kids that want to go. I can't do much. I've been out for so long, but I can point them in the right direction. Talk to guys like Dan that are current, but a current command master chief that's sober. You can talk to him, and I tell them the same thing. Two things. Everybody's got a story how they got there. You just told yours about finally figuring out how you can get there, picking shore duty. I had my own journey, how I got to EOD school and then Buds. That isn't even in training. And then you have a story when you're in training.
Oh, it goes all along the way.
Yeah.
I'll try and keep it brief. But
Yeah.
no, what I was saying about John Dulovich, the guy that actually admitted to quitting, all the other quitters, oh, they didn't like me. Oh, my knees. Oh, my this. Oh, my that. You know, shut up. Yeah. If you wanted to be there, you stayed. If you had to fight to get there, like I'm colorblind.
Mm-hmm.
I cheated my ass off. And it caught up with me when I went to get my dive physical in Pensacola.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor was like, holy shit, she saw I'd failed that plate thing 5 times.
Yeah.
And then I passed it 100%.
You remember the pattern.
Well, I dated a corpsman.
There you go.
Anyway, she let me borrow the thing. And anyhow, so she sends me to, I found out later, her husband, who's the ophthalmologist in Pensacola. And this guy's job is to disqualify pilots for a living.
Yeah.
And
you better see that red or green landed on a carrier.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, he called me in and he's like, hey, you know, while you're here, I'm like, bro. And I didn't bullshit. He goes, yeah, you failed this thing 5 times and he goes, nobody passes 100% and you passed 100%.
Mm-hmm. So you should.
So what do you want to do? I said, I just want to be a frogman. It's the only reason I joined the Navy. He goes, all right. And then I saw his name was the same as hers. I'm like, is that lady kin to you down there? He's like, yeah, it's my wife. She's pretty sharp.
Wow.
So he kind of coached me through the red, green, white Farnsworth lantern test.
Yeah.
But I wanted, that's what I wanted.
Yeah. No.
But
whatever it took.
Yeah. You do what you got to do. And it's funny, like guys from World War II that were flat footed or bad eyes or whatever, turned out being, you know, pretty key people. But so,
back on track. So you got through Buds. Your first command was 4.
Yep. SEAL Team 4, first Buds Class 2 Team 4. It had just turned over from UDT 21.
Right.
And as we were
Did
talking,
you know Doug back then?
Yeah. I got to the command January of 84.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no. Yeah. Well, how long is jump school? 3 weeks?
I don't remember.
Whatever. It was
something like
January, February 84 after jump school. And Doug had just got back from Beirut. They had got extended.
Yeah.
And to clean up the Marine barracks.
Yeah. Doug was our second podcast, so he's got a good story. So if you go back through our podcast, it's a long one.
No. I've watched parts of it.
But there's a lot about Beirut and how that impacted him. Certainly.
No. And Doug is a good friend of both of ours.
Yeah.
And
well, he's your sponsor.
When I was in college, that's what my sweetheart calls rehab.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's like, I'm trying to find a sponsor, blah, 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 calling around. I'm like, Doug's number was one of the first ones because you can't keep your phone. You got to keep a notebook with all the phone numbers because nobody memorizes stuff anymore. I called Doug, like, hey man, what do you think about? He's like, yeah, no problem.
Let's rewind a little bit. How, when did we've done a lot together. We went through the combat swimmer course and we did really well. John asked me a very interesting question the other day when Nick wasn't here. He was hungover, sleeping in, had his phone off. You brought something up like this was a dick dragger course and it was an ass kicker and we did really well in it. And you asked the question why we did so well. Because it was very hard and people still hear about that course. They're talking about bringing it back, but it's interesting that the question you asked and why we did so well. And I think I gave it, my answer was, well, we were both very comfortable in the water, very, very proficient. You had been to dive school. I'd had, I don't know, 200 working dives in EOD in 3 years because those senior enlisted guys didn't want to do anything. The new guy will do it, change and spit pit swords, blowing cables off of, with that cord, the cables that got caught on, screws. I mean, I got to do everything with supervision.
Yeah.
Jack stays, circle searches, finding gear, bodies, got to do everything. Survey pilings, hull surveys. I got to do all kinds of shit that, Navy divers don't get to do, because there's so many of them. But it was,
I wonder how many of what was that battleship up in that? The Kennedy was there.
Oh yeah,
but there was that battleship,
Oh,
and
my
it had
God,
the four
dude.
huge ass.
Oh, that was
screws,
yeah.
and we had to pick the one to.
Yeah, we had no problem. How about this? And I'll tell this story. Remember, we were up in Rhode Island, and there is a very special sub in the Navy, and it looks very different than anything that we were targeting.
Oh my, yeah.
And it's top secret. We had to wear TLDs correctly. If it's a TLD,
Tiny little device.
They register. Let me take a timeout. We back on? Hey, we had to pause for a second because we're dealing collectively with this a guy in the hospital that's got there from alcohol and drug abuse. So we're trying to figure out where to go to rehab, if he needs rehab. Has he hit his bottom? What is his bottom looking like right now? So that was with the cut and the pause of the podcast. So we'll pick it back up. John, we were talking about being swim buddies and why I thought that we were good swim buddies, and I thought it was about proficiency in the water. We talking about that I got to do a bunch of stuff in EOD because there was no dive locker in Rhoda. And we're talking about, I know what we're talking about now. So we're doing this course in an undisclosed location in Rhode Island, and there's a bunch of target ships. We have these TLD things, and TLDs used to measure radioactive.
Tiny little device.
And if there's an accumulation, if you've been exposed, that's the word I'm looking for. John used the word exposed to it. You get an accumulation during the day, then you can't be around it anymore. So get the dive brief. You guys need to stay away from this particular part of the target area. This thing looks like this. It's this color. It looks much different than every other thing we're doing our simulated ship attack about.
Pair six.
So we get done. It was an offset current program. It was in one of the turbulent rivers in Rhode Island. No, Connecticut. It was Connecticut.
I wasn't going to correct you.
You can correct me. I'm old.
And I think we were mustered up at a buoy. No, at a pilot. A pier. Not a pier, but it was a marker.
Like a day marker.
Yeah. But we were like in rubber going.
So, me and John did very good during this course, and we were always way out in front. Sully and Ross did good too. So we're at the RV to get picked up by a rib, something, and we're just saying, God damn, what is going on here? The swim pairs are showing up. We're here. We're waiting. Finally, the swim pair number shows up that they're late for everything. So we're done. And the way it works is they go and retrieve your
limpets,
inert limpets from the target area. They use a standby diver for it, so they can't find 2 limpets. So we're in the debrief area, and they start debriefing everybody's dive down to the gnat's ass, and they figure out that a certain swim pair had a wrong calculation on their offset current problem, and they panicked and they just put their limpets on a target, and that target was a highly classified, very special craft that we were briefed not to be around. So moving
Had that
back,
oil marker.
it actually had an oil boom around it. There was all kinds of security. You had to work hard to penetrate this. So the instructors pulled me and John aside and like, you guys are gonna have to go retrieve these limpets off of this target, very clandestine. So our thing turned into almost a real roll up to retrieve these limpets in 1992.
Whose car are we gonna take?
Yeah. So we clandestinely get inserted, get on a target we're not supposed to be on, go get the 2 limpets, get them to where we're supposed to be, get extracted, all without being compromised. But you talk about an instructor cadre sweating bullets because we had to get all kinds of waivers to dive there, the TLDs, the brief, it was crazy. But yeah, that was we made a good.
If we'd have had to get clearance to go to get that,
we couldn't have
they
got
just
clearance.
shut us down. They just shut the whole. We'd have probably been watch your head.
Yeah, we could have never even got clearance to go take those limpets off of this highly classified submersible, and you could look it up.
No.
It's probably out of service now. This was 1992, but no, we did very well in that course, and I think it was the maturity level and our comfortability because you had been through dive school, comfortable in water, and we it was all about the mission. We didn't worry about our dive rig. Once we got our trim and our Drager regulators sorted out.
I think that's the mechanics.
The mechanics of it.
But I think the reason we were so successful was because the trust.
Yeah.
Like we both dove with people. You're like, hell no, I'm driving. We'll be out here all freaking night.
Yeah.
Or guys that were like, man, I'm glad I'm with him.
Yeah.
But I think it was the trust that we eventually got. Like, oh yeah, okay, this works. Because we dove with everybody for like the first month.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. And then I did my combat swimmer training, putting platoons through it later the same way. Put the shitty guys with the shitty guys and the good guys with the good guys. Because you put a shitty guy with a good guy, the good guy's going to take over.
Yeah. And the shitty guy's not learning anything.
Exactly.
And it was I mean, how many dives did we do and how many dives did we do in how many months? It was crazy. We had to get all kinds of waivers.
It was close to 70 dives in like 3 months. Maybe not quite 70, but it was over. The worst ones were the Saturday. Oh, we're just doing one dive today.
The exhaustion ones on Vieques.
Mother of pearl.
So what we did in our first phase of training was to get our tolerances down and get our O2 consumption down. And we would measure it every Saturday by going over to the pier in Vieques, getting in the water and swimming on a bearing for 2 hours.
As long as you could.
As long as you could. You would come up, you would chart where you were, your distance, and they would measure your your O2 consumption. And that's how you backed into your dive profile for the more advanced missions that came later on in the course.
Or figure out you need to carry an extra O2 bottle.
Yeah, we
destroy your rig by changing it out underwater.
Well, here's another thing, and those guys are all out. I mean, they had to get waivers how we were doing buddy breathing.
Air thing.
We would do buddy breathings where one guy had a rig, and that was it.
I was there.
You were my partner. We would do buddy breathing, and I don't care. We'll talk about it.
Yeah,
we did buddy breathing with one rig for over an hour, and you couldn't come up. And you had to do a mission. It wasn't like you were sitting at the bottom of a pool. You had to complete an evolution. Good luck with that today.
Well, I think there's guys out there. I guarantee you there's guys out there that we probably train that would be like, all right, what, one fin? All right. Yeah. Well, it's going to suck, but you remember that?
Yeah.
Guy starting to die with no fins, and I made him, his buddy and him tried to share a fin, and I'm like,
it was a helo insert, and they lost the fin.
This was a different time. It was an STT.
Oh, we did a helo insert. We out in Puerto Rico, and somebody lost the fin. We didn't lose it. Somebody did.
Yeah.
I remember. I remember
because they came back at the debrief.
Yeah, we all did the helo insert, whatever.
Yeah.
10 for 10 or 22. I don't know what the fuck it was that he lost speed. And I remember this particular, as soon as I lost the fin, it starts like, fuck you, do the op, figure it out.
And that's what I'm saying. There's guys today like, all right, this is gonna suck, but let's do it.
Yeah.
And knock it out of the park. And
Yeah.
that's the good thing about team guys, good
Yeah.
team guys, is it. And then the good team guys are gonna come back, they'll high five their buddy, whatever. They're not gonna make a big deal about it and write a fucking book.
Yeah.
You know,
But
they're
you
gonna be
know,
like, yeah, that's between you and me.
We
And
got really,
good Lord.
I mean, we had good gear. Me and you always had an extra mask between us. We always had extra fin straps between us. We always, you know, had an extra watch somewhere. So it wasn't, you know, it's pretty good. You learn pretty quick.
Well, the fact that, hey, who's driving? I don't know. I'll drive, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, and this is what I eventually, I want to go debrief some of these new guys when they do combat swimmer, because that is the one thing that we do that nobody else can do is combat swimmer.
That and being on skis.
The what?
That and being on telemark skis. They're just getting this program back now after they put, I mean, you guys watch it from far. They put, I don't know how much money into the, you know, guys to do this with the Norwegians. Then it went from that to snowshoes to nothing at all. Now they got to ramp it up. Now I guess there's group has like some select guys. They're doing it through group 2 now. It's not even at a team level. Each team.
I have snowshoes, but you know me, I'm a dumpster diver from way back.
Yeah.
But I have those rawhide badass snowshoes. The dumpster was full of them back in the day. And I was like, so I grabbed a bunch. I think they're cool. I got one up in my shop in the front of my shop because they're just kind of cool. But getting away from our basics is a bad idea.
I mean, who knows?
Teams. How do we get? What are we talking about? Because you got shit to do.
No, we don't have. We're good.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
no. We're talking about combat swimmer.
Yeah, but we're just talking about why we're good swim buddies. But okay, so you know, when did your we'll fast forward a little bit of it. You know?
So my drinking started long ago, but in the Navy, it became the whole culture of booze.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oh, you can't drink out in town in California, but you can drink at the base. You know, when you're 18.
Yeah,
and so because I was a kid. I was 19 when I joined, and I could go drink beer on base, whatever, great, or buy a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a big liquor drinker back then, but you know, and then you are who you hang out with, your buddies that you meet at the bar or whatever.
But when did it become an issue? Like,
the
one thing, and I discussed this in detail, or some detail, was the fact that most of the guys didn't have a problem doing the work. You knew when to stop. I mean, did I jump hungover? Did I have to shut my Draeger off to puke and feed the fish? Yes, but it never interfered, you know, grossly with my work. But
no, I can't say that
mine started when I got out of the Navy.
Okay, I was going to say mine never affected my work in the teams.
Right.
Whether I jumped hungover. Yeah. By God, we all did.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what the oxygen was good for.
Oh my God. Yeah, that, and so you're on the ramp at 15,000 feet, and somebody, oh my God, those are the worst smells I've ever had in my life. You know, guys that go out, and then the next day it's like, whoa, because you know, gas expands.
Yeah,
and oh God. Anyhow,
well, when did it become? When did it become? It was a problem off and on with my marriage, and my wife finally said, "It's me and the kids, or you're drinking. You better fucking do something." And I did something about it. But there was a lot of incidents leading up to it that, for a lot of different reasons, I turned to alcohol. It was very prevalent in my house growing up. It was all over the place. My mother let me drink at an early age. It was okay because she was an alcoholic and things of that nature. But it became an issue at my house, and I had to stop. When did it become an issue for you? That you said I need to stop. When did it accelerate? Mine accelerated when I got out, when I didn't have any left and right flank, and I could do what I want. I started making a little bit more money, a little less oversight, as long as I was getting my work done for the people I was working for.
Yeah, pretty much what you just said. I retired in 2010. I did a lot of what I thought was, I did what I wanted to do, which was be in platoons or training.
Yeah.
One way or the other. I wanted to be the jump team or the SISM team or no. But yeah, when I did retire, I did some role playing for the Sneaky Man School, ASOT level 3 for about a year and a half. And did the pirate gig with Rat over in and then got on with Check 6.
Yeah.
And that's it's an awesome company, and it's mostly fighter pilots. And but they found that having some fat old frogmen brought something different to the table as far as communication.
Well, you had fluency in the systems, some of the systems with Draeger and stuff like that, maintenance and all that, correct?
Yeah. But we were just consulting.
Okay.
Like, all we did was sell air. And they're still doing it. It's a good thing. But my mom could say this exact same thing I said at a debrief, but ain't nobody gonna listen to her. But a retired team guy, I tell you, hey, this is why you should wear your safety pro, or this is why you need to talk about that problem that you had when you were doing that cement job, how you don't hurt somebody next time. That's, the whole culture of debrief. And so that's basically what we were doing, which was pretty easy. And a lot of the pilots are, more of not a hair out of place, In fact, somebody once told me, he goes, yeah, you can tell them guys never gassed up or washed that airplane that they flew. Whereas we're more, especially an enlisted guy is more, can relate better to these, roughneck oil workers. And so
another interesting thing that you're saying too is, and people might not know this, but we do, in SEAL training, officers go through the exact same training as the enlisted guy. Whether he chooses to remember that or he doesn't, it's there in his face. So they might not build every pallet or wash down every piece of comm gear, but they went through BUDS and they know what's going on, at least. Where you're right, the pilots are they never washed that aircraft. They never loaded an ordnance. They never loaded a CAD. They never did any of that stuff. They show up and do this to the plane captain and look cool.
Yeah. So anyway, it was
your camaraderie with the workers.
I still have friends from the oil field, and we did the oil field thing, and then we went and did construction, a big construction company in California, Tykert. It's I think the largest private landowner in California. Anyway, they brought us out there to help with their supervisors and stuff. And no, it was awesome. Family owned company. And then I did a steel mill. The last job I did with them before I pretty much retired was up in Coatesville, Pennsylvania. And that my drinking was getting pretty bad at that point.
Describe bad?
Well, my knees have given me issues ever since I went skiing down in Portillo, Chile. I was just talking about that earlier with you, but yeah, at that point, they said I needed new knees when I retired in 2010, but then they said, put it off as long as you can, because they're only good for 10 or 15 years. So I did, I put it off. By God, alcohol was like in the Navy, the only real thing you could do legally. And so, it was getting bad there. And then when I slowed down and pretty much realized, oh crap, I don't have to work. I mean, my bills are paid and stuff's going on. And it got bad. And then the worse I got, Katie, my sweetheart, mother of my youngest, Jonah. I've asked her to marry me a couple of times, but she didn't want to get the law involved. But I think I got her turned. But anyway, she took the boys to Kentucky. And
let me rewind this little. Now, I met you when you were married to Laura.
Yes.
Did alcohol have anything to do with that relationship? I know there was other problems. We don't have to discuss them publicly there. Did that have an impact on that relationship or any other relationships prior to you meeting Katie? Was alcohol a problem with your you know, being socially.
Judgment for sure. No, but the relationship is what it was, and I was willing to work things out until a certain point when,
Of course,
her problems were something I could not
right. Okay.
deal with. And so, and then the second one, you know, my second ex-wife, I was drinking quite a bit then. And anyhow, so Katie, I'd known for quite a while.
Did drinking have to do with the dissolving your second marriage?
Yes, absolutely.
Like ultimatum, kind of like you
Oh,
to stop drinking,
no.
or your perception of your relationship.
It wasn't my drinking well, my drinking was adding to it, but it was
Everybody's.
No, it was hers. What she did was like, I can't deal with this anymore. Financial stuff.
Okay.
And so I'm like, yep, nope, that's it.
And how long did that last for, that marriage?
10 years, maybe.
Were there kids in that marriage?
Yeah, Ben.
That's right.
Benedict Henry. Yeah, he's an awesome kid. He's 17.
You got a good relationship with him?
Way better now.
Good. Bet you're sober.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Oh, my word.
Imagine the things that improve when you're sober.
Yeah, that's why us Germans have flat foreheads.
Yeah.
Anyhow, what was the question?
We were talking about the impact of alcohol on your relationships, and I just want to lead up to Katie and you're drinking with where you're drinking gotten bad, and you're with Katie, and you said it was with a steel mill in Pennsylvania.
Oh, well, that was the last job I'd done with Check 6. So when that ended, I was like, okay, we're good. So I stayed home. I'm like, I'll just kind of goof around the shop, blah, blah, blah. And we were talking about homeschooling Jonah and whatnot. And so I just stayed home. And like you said, when you don't have any purpose and you got, you know, your finances are okay and you got plenty of time and booze. Yeah, that's what ultimately was my, you know, the alcohol became a, you know, what do they call it? A rapacious, whatever, debitor, creditor.
What
it's
was not even sober for a little while. We'll talk about your bottom, and I know Matto helped you out getting to where you need to be, and Doug will get to him being a sponsor and Seals Curry. But what do you think you were drinking so much for? Were you covering something up? I know a lot of mine stems from a lot of stuff. I discussed it some previous stuff, but we're interviewing you. But I mean, because alcoholism is a symptom of other things. I'm a firm believer in that. As you have some distance between your drinking and sobriety now over a year, when you look back and think, what were you doing? It couldn't have been a great time because you ended up in rehab.
Oh no. I was being, I guess what it was doing, I wasn't happy with the way my life was going right then. And it was that, I need to do this, I need to do that. But if I just take this drink,
I don't got to think about it anymore.
Yeah, I don't have to think about that. It doesn't go away. And so luckily I didn't push it to the point where the people that love me now didn't love me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we didn't.
I didn't
totally burn that bridge.
I didn't burn. Yeah, I torched them, but they're still, you know, I can still fix them, and I've been doing that, and that's part of the work that you have to freaking do.
Yeah,
there is no shortcut to time. You know.
Well, there's a saying in AA: "Time takes time." You know, and
well, it's yeah. And so, like I said, I wreck your car the next morning. I'm hung up. Oh, man, I'm really sorry. It's going to take you a while before you go, okay, you can borrow my car again.
No, you're right.
But
so let's talk about the last week or so leading up to what got you into Farley.
So, you know, people talk about the rock bottom or the whatever. I relate it more to a foggy Jack Stay search
Yeah.
in Little Creek Cove,
Yeah.
looking for a lost something that's going
this
to end
big?
your career
Oh yeah.
if you don't find it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're running out of air and you can't see a thing. And yeah, that's what my rock bottom was. Because the 5 days or whatever when Katie took the boys to Kentucky,
Right.
and I was left to my own device, which at first was like, woohoo. Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing was kind of a blur, and it's amazing that well, my best friend, Country Dave, he and another good friend, Neil King, he's a neurologist. They came over, got my neighbor to let him in my house, found me on my chair with my vodka and orange soda thawed out, and Dave thought I was dead. In my
So you've been at it how long? A week? 5 days? 4
5
days?
days, yeah.
Do you remember any of it?
Little bits.
Do you remember when it started? Were you in your shop? Were you in your house? What were you doing?
Well,
Did
it goes
did
to and fro.
Did you clue together? Did you piece together it at all?
It's funny now. I do have reminders, and I don't clean them up. I don't like.
No.
At some point, I was
story, brother.
I was sawing off this 5-inch 4140. It's a hydraulic ram.
Mm-hmm.
The shaft part of it, it's
Mhm.
it's huge. Because I need to make some stuff for my rolling mill, some outside dice for it. And it's 5 inches and it's heavy as, and I'd sawed this off and I was half in the, because I had some booze at the shop, of course, you know, and I'm sawing this thing off and a can of green spray paint fell down underneath the saw thing. And I'm like, all of a sudden, boom, psst, that thing comes off, hits that can, sends green fucking paint all over the shop, my shoes, my leg, my foot. And I remember that part going, watching that can spin around. And a couple other, you know.
You're lucky you didn't hurt yourself.
Oh, my word. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can only count to 9 and a half
you
now.
you were sober then.
I was.
No, I mean, you got a lot of equipment around, and that's just.
I still do. And I'm getting more.
So you were stumbling from the house to the shop for 5 days doing shit. And
oh, God. Yeah. And so finally,
they come and find you.
My neighbor, my neighbor came and Dave was there and whatnot. Dave actually went in the front yard and was like, I can't. He thought I was dead. Like, I can't see him like that. And I'm like, hey guys, what? Yeah. Hey, amigo.
Yeah.
Hey. And so yeah, I'm like, whoo. And then Katie had already come home and stayed at her parents' with the kids and came back. And she's like, I'm like, ooh, I'm in trouble. Nah, you're not in trouble.
I'm leaving.
Yeah. Yeah. Have fun. Because if you know, and I'm like, okay, I'll quit, which I'd done a million times before. And she's like, no. She'd already talked to Country Dave and Matto and whatever. And yeah, she threw it down. I'm like, all right. And it saved my life. She saved my life.
So who was what was the mechanics of you getting into Farley? Matto, you called?
Yeah, they called, or she got Matto on the phone, and he was like, hey, you know, what's it gonna be? I said, do you want some help? Or he said, do you want some help? And I said, yeah, I think I need some help.
Did you just say it, or you were ready?
No, I was on the edge.
We were trying to just get the heat off from Katie and just hopefully get some space between us, some dead space.
Yes. And I was ready. You know, I realized, hey, you got a fucking 5-year-old.
Yeah. They didn't sign up for that shit.
And a fucking 15-year-old.
Yeah.
And you're being the biggest piece of shit in the fucking this side of the sun. And yeah, the path you're on, you know, well, either either get off of it or get the fucking dying, you know?
So
And that's what it was going to be. Cause
So
she
who
was
took
like,
you to Farley?
"Catch you, Dave."
So you go to Farley, you check in. How long do you think it took you to detox? Were you detoxed?
Oh
when you
no, I
got
was
there?
already detoxed.
Okay, so you had you had a few days sober before
Yeah.
you went there.
Yeah. Cause
And
they had said, "Hey, you ready to go now?" And I'm like, "No, I really didn't." But I was like, "No, I can't go today." And then so it was cool. I didn't drink. I'd quit many, many times before for a week or two, but there was always that, yeah, I can always, I'm not a quitter. I can always, control my drinking or whatever.
we know that's not true.
But
Not
no,
you, for everybody that has a problem with alcohol.
no, for me, for sure.
So then you got up there, and did you immerse yourself right into rehab, or did you fight it? Did you
No,
jump in a
I
group?
got there on Juneteenth, and which is great, whatever. And I'm looking at all these super liberal, and I got there. This lady's on the phone in the hallway, telling her whatever 10-year-old son for the 9th time that he needs to do the dishes. She was there in recovery as well. Her kids are at home. Yes, just do the dishes. It's okay with your sister. Well, don't worry about that. Well, and I'm like, holy crap, these are regular people with regular problems.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, or you think you're some big badass. And I tried to be humble. Not like but I see these other people and I'm like, holy mackerel. Yeah, they got problems too. And
we're no different than them. We just have a different career path.
Yeah, exactly. Anyhow,
well, your rehab was good, right? You
Yeah.
had a good time. You embraced it. You made some good friends. And then how did you find out about us, and how did you come upon Doug as a sponsor?
Oh, the lady up there goes, "Hey, do you know Johnny Hawley?" I'm like, "No, never heard. Who's she?" No. I'm like, "Of course I know him. He's a good friend." She's like, "Oh, wow. He's got the, and then I think I got your phone number from her, sent you text because you keep your number kind of private. And anyhow, yeah, I'm like, hell yeah. And then I didn't know Doug was in it. I knew Doug was in AA because he'd been to the shop many times and he's a good friend. But yeah, no, what was the question again?
I was just wondering how you found out about SEALs recovery. Then you got up with Doug, and then you started showing him my meetings.
Yeah, we did the phone in from Farley.
Yeah,
with some other guys that are still with us. Yeah, and then I think the day I got out of Farley was a Friday or a Wednesday, and I came straight over to the old church.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised that you wound up in there.
In Farley?
Not in Farley, but getting sober.
Oh,
I remember you. Even I had in my sobriety. I'm off and on talk to you, but you were always about, I'm going to go have my 2 fingers in my shop and this and that. And you talked a lot about that experience in a positive manner.
Oh,
and I'm like, I hope he's doing something. And I don't try to take inventory, but I take my friends into her who I love and care for. I know where this ends up.
I remember when we went and got Thai food or sushi or something. It was out in Green or Battlefield area, and or Green. What? Yeah, Battlefield. No, and you were sober, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And we had lunch.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, but I was still drinking pretty bad.
So you and he's John, you work a really good program, and you jumped into deep end very quickly, and it's good, and you've experienced some things in recovery with helping people that we've all learned lessons in there. I've learned them several times. I'm probably gonna learn another one today at 12:00, but you really embraced it and leading meetings, helping, doing 12-step work. Why do you think this sobriety has worked for you this time? Was it the rehab? Was it the bottom? Was it SEALs in recovery? Was it the camaraderie with like-minded people that have done the same thing?
Yes. All the above. I think why so far it's worked for me is that I've got to know myself. I got to know the good Lord a little better. And I realized that, how do I put this?
Any way you want, it's your story, brother.
Trying to get to the cool kid table at lunchtime doesn't really matter. The cool kid table is the fucking table that you're at if you're comfortable with yourself, and you can make the other kids at the cool kid table feel comfortable too, and that's us. We are the cool kid table. Whether you're there or I'm there or Doug's there or Evan or Tom, whoever, Lottie Dottie, everybody. And being comfortable with yourself is
It's hard to get
the key.
there, John.
Exactly. And I'm not totally comfortable with myself. We all got our issues foibles, whatever you call them.
I mean, it's hard because and I am truly, I wish I got to counseling earlier, in my sobriety, for all the other crap that goes on with TBI and PTSD and depression that we all suffer, and the physical elements, and our body just doesn't work the way it used to, and you wish you can take back some of the stuff you've done in the past. And I mean, counseling's a bitch because you're constantly going over the bad shit you did in your life to figure out why. And it's an ass beater because you're reframing it again and again to look back and to try to figure out the why, to get to what we're talking about now, to be comfortable in your own skin.
If you take it seriously,
you have to take it seriously, John. This is how we got here.
Everybody takes it seriously.
I mean, I got to take seriously what got me
guys here. That you're going to go see at noon don't take it seriously.
No, but we do, because we care, because you're trying to get comfortable in your own skin. And then what got us here? Like, Mike, one of my catchphrases is, "Your best thinking, you in this room." So stop fucking around.
Yeah.
Stop playing around with this thing. This is everything that you thought you were doing right led you right here, and the train wreck of the stuff we left behind. And it's a, I'm not cry like a bitch or be emotional about it, but it's a really, if you are doing the work, like we're going to see here in a little bit about this guy, but if you're doing the work, it's hard because there's a lot more bad days than good. I mean, the good days are great, but I had an hour and a half counseling yesterday with my person, then me and my wife went for an hour, and 2.5 hours of counseling and your head working to find out answers. You have a hangover the next day. You do. And your head is spinning, and you've been there, and you've been to Farley, and you've been to different things. And it's like, I feel myself getting better. I feel myself having what does Doug say? God forgives you. Why can't you forgive yourself? Well, you know what? The people around us aren't God. They're the people that we love and see all the time. So that becomes hard to forgive yourself for the people that you've hurt, whether it's children, spouses, friends, and to repair those relationships. So that getting comfortable with myself or ourselves is in my universe, but I don't know when I get to that planet. It's fucking Mars right now. That's how far away it is. But at least it's in the solar. It's in the solar system.
Yeah. Talking about the doing the work. Yeah, if you don't do the work, you didn't fucking earn it. And to think that there's now, man, I don't know, the good Lord could go ding, and I realize, oh, this is what makes me tick, and blah 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 blah. And it'd be nice if ayahuasca or whether DMT or the bong, whatever, would take you to that place and be a shortcut to go, oh, this is why you're fucked up. This is how you fix. Yeah, no, I don't trust that, because when you open that door, you don't know if it's there's demons that are talking to you or your guardian angel.
I believe now that I've gotten back onto the highway of Christianity, Catholicism. you know, the God of my belief is the harder you work on that, the further away those demons stay. And that's the truth. You know, that's that guy, just like alcohol is bad, the devil's doing push-ups on your back every day, getting stronger and stronger, and letting him in is bad.
You count
But
bodybuilders.
this is and I've said this, and we'll wrap it up in a second. I'm like, I've said this in our meetings, and it's rhetorical, maybe an open questions, like, can you really get better if you're on some mind-altering drug? Or forget about alcohol. I'm just talking if you're smoking pot every day or going on these things. Are you really getting any? Can you really receive counseling honestly to get yourself better if you're dismissing the counseling by going home and doing whatever you do? I don't know. I don't think it's possible. I think you have to have a clear head to reconcile it. And maybe you get to a place and you go back to do what you do, and not me. But it's to me, it's a very interesting question.
Yeah. Say the question again.
The question is can counseling and
Oh.
real healing be achieved if you're constantly doing mind-altering things and having a false sense of whatever it is?
Yeah. No, I'm
All
with
these
you.
people that were doing it there.
Did he say he was going to some other country to do?
Many times.
And he's done it more than once, and it
Yes.
still hadn't
And
worked.
this guy is you know, he's runs a dispensary. John, but you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go do my thing with Evan. I love Evan to death. He's gonna push AA in the big book. That's fine. Love him to death. I'm gonna just say, hey, where you at? Is this what you do? Have you reached your bottom? Do you want some help? This is how I did it. I'm not gonna waste a whole bunch of time by trying to, you know, force him into something that he's not ready for. I've given up on that a long time. There's got to be a flicker of light there to actually want some help. I mean, you just, you know, I hope the guy's doing great at rehab, but you just took a guy to rehab that he was talking about liquidating his assets with his wife and buying a BMW. The guy's lost everything, lost his family, a beautiful house. He'll get something in settlement, and the guy's his best thinking is going to rehab, and he's talking about liquidating a house and buying a BMW. Maybe
Porsche.
A Porsche.
Anyway.
My point is, where are you, bro? You know, you're out of your mind. Maybe he's getting the medicine, quote unquote, at Farley that he needs to realize that he's in Farley because of his stinking thinking and what he prioritized in his life. Not that he's actually hit a bottom and here's the white flag. I'm surrendering. I need all the help you can give me, and with open arms and an open heart. And even like that is like, you share very much from the heart. There's people that just, they do canned shares. It's like a canned training op.
Heard one the other day.
Yeah, I'm not going to name names, but
yeah,
I mean,
the other day.
Say something from your heart that means something. Don't clip and paste something onto our signal thing.
Yeah,
and you know, I like the funny memes.
Did you see coming back?
Did you see the sound of freedom? It's really tinnitus.
Oh, I did.
I saw that one. I'm like,
yeah,
because we all have tinnitus.
Huh?
Yeah. My wife, like, are your ears ringing right? And I said, yeah, they ring all the time. But no, but I and Doug says the best. Slit your belly open, let your guts hang out on a table, and tell us how you feel. Like, I feel like I don't even, and maybe people will get there. Like, I know you. I've known you forever. I've heard your shares. I've heard your story. I'm hearing it again. I heard your rehab. The problems we face, you face, they're just guys that have no depth, man.
Well, here's the thing. Viktor Frankl, that book, The Purpose.
Oh, absolutely.
He's one of my favorites. But my idea of retirement from growing up as a kid was, you know, old man in a zipper freaking coveralls with the anchor on the zipper and a fifth of scotch under the golf cart, driving around the trailer park. Not the Yankee trailer parks.
The Village in
exactly.
The Village is in
That's what
Florida.
I was thinking. Heck yeah, man. But now it's going to my shop. It's teaching that homeschool co-op thing. You find something to do with your life other than fucking drink.
You get purpose.
And yeah,
it's shit you probably wanted to do for a long time, but interfered with what you actually wanted. So that's another great one is let me answer this.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have
yeah.
to break this. Hold on.
Oh,
We were talking about what we viewed in retirement previously and now, right? And
so
what we want to accomplish. So one of the things that I always say, and this is I'm done with my senior moment, was when I talk to people about their sobriety and they're getting happier, try to remember a time when you enjoyed doing things when you didn't have a problem with alcohol. What did you actually enjoy? I know what I liked. And it was all positive things. You know, I always liked doing stuff with my kids and my wife. I liked going fishing. I like going golfing. I liked helping people. I liked coaching and having patience with people and a lot of that stuff. I always did stuff with my kids and my wife. I wasn't always the best father, but I did provide and I did have time for all of that. But I wasn't always serene and cordial and stuff like that. Jumping forward to being sober again and doing the stuff I want to do is you're doing it. You're teaching classes, you're making stuff, you're spending time with your kids. And the thing is like, at the end of the day, we're on the back nine. We only have so many days. What are you going to get out of those days? It ain't driving around in a golf cart with a fifth, telling sea
it
stories.
can be.
It can be, but it's more about getting some stuff done before you go to the other side.
Yeah. When you do the steps and all, and you do the men's, the work,
Yeah.
and you think about it, you're like, holy crap. All right. What can I do to kind of maybe take 10 minutes off of smoking a turd in hell in the
Yeah.
eternity to amend for that? And, being I don't know if you're from, did you go to Mass Sunday?
This Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Divine Mercy Sunday. Do you understand it? We'll talk
What's
about it after. It's a big deal. It's way bigger than Christmas and Easter.
Our church lost power, so we had a very intimate service.
We'll talk about it after, but yeah, no, right now I'm concerned with my own soul, my sweetheart's soul, my children's soul.
Mhm.
That's like, I need to get there, and then I need you guys to come with me. Otherwise, I don't fucking get there. You know what I mean? It's a failure as a father to bring your family along to get to heaven. That's my mom. That's her kind of philosophy.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I mean, because hey, what good is it if you get up there alone?
I get to hang out with Steve Scott,
Yeah.
who probably could have
Ooh.
used SEALs in recovery. But anyways, anything else you want to say?
Yes. So retirement now it's awesome to enjoy what we've built through the years. So teaching kids, doing the knife making thing,
Mm-hmm.
teaching my own kids, and yeah, that's hopefully saving me from turds smoking in hell.
Well, I don't think you're going to have a problem with this. And one of the things I talk about it, I could never go. Drugs was never my story. Part of my story, alcohol was. But I mean, I will never drink. I don't want to have to face you and said I got to get a white chip. I don't want to have to face Dan, who I sponsor. I don't want to have to face all these guys that I've been flying this flag. It becomes, I'm not going to say total pressure, but the thing, it becomes accountable. And just like being a SEAL team, they got to carry your own load, whether it's a winter pack or a jungle pack or packing your own chutes or whatever the hell you get ready for a dive. You got to do the shit. And you don't want to let other people down for them having to do your shit. Or, if I ever drank, you coming to me, hey, why'd you drink, man? I thought you had a good program. I never want to be that guy. I've made a lot of mistakes in sobriety, but the thing is, like, my point is, this is the fiber that holds our group together. The premise is sobriety and accountability to each other. In my opinion.
No. Johnny, we belong to me, the most important and elite boys club in the world. Like, money ain't getting you through, buds.
Money ain't getting money.
Fame ain't getting
money
you.
will provide. Money will stave off your bottom, because you could hire lawyers and go to a rehab. You could hide it. You can buy shit. You can still pay your bills. Somebody with no money hits the bottom pretty quick because everything's gone. but everybody gets there if they're predestined. So, anyways, I appreciate it. Your brother from another mother, you always have been.
Well,
and we're going to go on.
I think we might be related somewhere down there. We're both from, well, Long Island, turn of the century is when my great grandfather left Long Island.
Yeah.
And you grew up over there.
Well, we'll be going on an adventure in about 55 minutes. Let's see what happens with this guy. I don't know. I hate to prejudge, but we're going to see what happens.
Well, you know, as long if he can get into, and when I talk to him tomorrow, I'll say, hey, dude, there is no shortcut. I wish there was a magic.
I just got to see where he's at, man. Like I'm going to meet him exactly where he's at, and I'm going to tell him what it just becomes: jails, institutions, and death. You've already headed. I don't know your legal problems, but you headed to an institution.
Was he got some legal problems?
I don't know. I don't know. But my point is, he's checking one of the boxes. It's when you get off of that. Before death.
Yeah.
So, all right, John, SEALs in Recovery. Thank you, John Richter. It's been great. Thank you, Nick. You're gonna have to do a lot of editing, but it is what it is.
Nice you could make it today, brother.
Yeah.